I think that we need to anchor, and I'm going to turn this over to Reverend Michael McMillan.
Thank you so much, Reverend Hobby, for all that you've done in pulling together this meeting today and keeping us together. Much for joining us as we work through some important material today. It's my joy to lead us in a time of silence and reflection as we begin. And so I'd just like to call us each in our own way to lift our hearts to God, and I'll close our meditation time in a minute with some collective prayer. God, by whatever names you are known and called by members of this group, we are drawn together in your presence to act, to think, and to move on behalf of our communities of faith and on behalf of our larger community of people. I pray that you will bless our time together and bind us together in common purpose and unity is our prayer. Amen.
Amen.
Jerry, lead us on.
So I thought before we got started, I thought it would be really good for us to take a moment and I wanted to share one of my favorite, and Reverend McMillan has shared that this is one of his favorite videos of the week. So I'm going to just share my screen with you. And this is a video message from Dolly Parton.
Well, hey, it's me. I'm finally going to get my vaccine. I'm so excited. I've been waiting a while. I'm old enough to get it, and I'm smart enough to get it. So I'm very happy that I'm going to get my Moderna shot today. And I wanted to tell everybody, I think you should get out there and do it too. I even changed one of my songs to fit the occasion. It goes, vaccine, 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 vaccine. I'm begging of you, please don't hesitate. Vaccine, 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 vaccine. Because once you're dead, then that's a bit too late. I know I'm trying to be funny now, but I'm dead serious about the vaccine. I think we all want to get back to normal, whatever that is, and that would be a great shot in the arm, wouldn't it, if we could get back to that. But anyhow, I just wanted to encourage everybody, because the sooner we get to feeling better, the sooner we are going to get back to being normal. So I just want to say to all of you cowards out there, don't be such a chicken squat. Get out there and get shot. Anyway, that's my message to you. So I am going to call on my friend, Dr. Najia Boomrod, that's worked in research here at Vanderbilt. That's where I am today. And he's going to pop me in my arm. And so I'm going to call him in. I'm going to mask up first, though, because I have a pretty good distance between me and the camera. So I'm going to try to put this on and get that on, get my hair back around so I look good. You know, we gotta look good. Okay, Dr. Najee, get in here and give me a shot. How are you?
Hey, how are you?
I'm good.
It's so
Have
good
you been
to see
practicing?
you, and thank you very much for coming.
Yeah, well, thank you for helping me out. You've been here for years doing research at Vanderbilt, and you and I have been friends forever, and I thought it was only appropriate that you should be the one to give me my shot today.
Absolutely, and I'm so glad that you're here and that you're giving a great message, and we're ready.
Okay, well, I'm going to wait on you.
Okay.
I hope you practice. I even had a little cutout in my shirt. I matched it over here because I'm sure you can just reach down in there and surely find a muscle somewhere.
Uh-huh. So,
I'm going to wait for you. All right.
I'm sorry.
It's all right. Do what you got to do. You're the doctor. I'm just the patient. I didn't know you was going to be so clumsy. I hope you're going to do better with my shot. And I hope this don't look like it does on TV where it looks like they're driving an ice pick in your arm. Okay.
Now, let me ask you, I have two questions to ask you. Do you
Okay.
have any bleeding disorders?
No.
Any serious allergies, anaphylactic reaction?
No.
Okay, we're ready.
I think I'm good to go. So. I'm going. I'm going. Well, it didn't take this long to film 9 to 5, Dr. Najee. Okay. I'm still waiting. Well, I've been waiting since December. I've been in line. Okay, here I go. All right. Think you got it?
I got it.
Okay. That didn't hurt. Just stung a little bit, but that was from the alcohol pad, I think.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Let me
All
put-
right.
Should we put
A Band-Aid? No. Mess up my beauty mark?
Okay.
I'm joking. You do what you gotta do. I don't want blood on my clothes. Hey, I did it.
So I thought that would be fun for us to start off that way. And I am so happy that we have this medical team here to support us. And what we're going to do is we're going to turn it over to them. Things keep changing. I'm going to say moment by moment. We're in warp speed right now, and we'd love to hear the updates. And then what we're going to do is we're going to open it up for questions. And the way I'm going to ask us to do our questions is if you will just type your questions in the chat. And I'm going to ask Petra, is it possible for you to help and be moderator with me? And we can just man the chat and ask questions when the time comes.
I'm really sorry. I can do it for a little bit, but I'm going to have to leave early. My son has a doctor appointment. So
Okay. All right.
For a little while.
Okay. All right. And then if not, Trudy can jump in and help us with that. Is that okay, Trudy? I'm assuming it's okay, Trudy.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thanks. So we're going to turn this over to Dr. Timotry now.
Okay. Good morning. No, I'm so sorry. Good afternoon, everyone. And we are very grateful and honored to be here today. And thank you, Pastor Hobby, for inviting us. As you know myself, I began to query yourself and others on other boards about the vaccine back in November and December. And I was very pleased to know that you were open and willing to be vaccinated. Because we began vaccinating our community members and our staff in January. I'm proud to admit and announce that we have reached about 95% herd immunity among the health center staff. And I'm excited about that because we are working to stay as healthy as we can so that we can continue to serve our communities. Today, I have several members with me. We are a community health center, more specifically referred to as a federally qualified health center. I don't know if you've listened to the news recently, but when you hear announcements coming from our government, when they make reference to community health centers and FQHCs, they're making reference to those of us. To my right is Dr. Keith Fujinaga. He is the lead on our vaccine programs at the health centers, serving both Riverside and San Bernardino. And he is the champion for the vaccination program. That's my phone. On Zoom, we have Dr. Sana Lagans, who is our Assistant Medical Director of Clinical Services. Also on the phone, we have our clinical manager, Ms. Samantha Dodson, and I believe our supervising nurse is on Zoom. They're all at different locations in patient care. That's why they're Zooming in. Ms. Latasha Knox, and sitting to my right is our special projects manager, manager. She handles the administrative portion of the vaccine program, and they will begin their conversation with you now. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you. Doc?
Okay, so let me begin by saying the timeline of vaccines. So the first COVID vaccine that was first approved was the Pfizer formulation. This had very stringent storage requirements, which required a facility to have what's called an ultra cold freezer, which a lot of places didn't have the capability to obtain one of these. Later, there's a Moderna vaccine, which kind of used the same technology as Pfizer. It is the vaccine we currently use now. It's a 2-dose, what's called an mRNA vaccine. And this vaccine does not have a virus. Instead, it has a message. So when it gets taken up in your cell, it makes the message to look like one of the pieces of the COVID virus so that your body creates an immune response to it. And that next time you are exposed to the virus, you have protection against it. The most current vaccine that has just recently been approved is from Johnson & Johnson. It's going to be known as the Janssen COVID vaccine. It's a different type of mechanism. It doesn't use what's called an mRNA, but instead they refer to it as a vector type of vaccine. What it does is it uses a neutralized cold virus that you normally get called an adenovirus. And so they neutralize this virus that you normally get colds from. And in this virus, they put a message in that virus so that when they inject you, that message gets taken up by your body, and the same process occurs where it fools the body that it's the COVID and you make antibody or immune response to it. And this provides protection. So basically, those are the 3 vaccines that are available that we currently have. And currently, we're, like I said, doing the Moderna vaccine. We have a pretty robust team here, and we have created a pretty efficient workflow. Like Dr. Lindsay said, we have vaccinated majority of our employees here, and we have begun to vaccinate a lot of people in the community. We're very mission driven to make sure all of our patients in the area and community have access and the opportunity to receive this vaccine. So with this, I open the door for Dr. Lagans or Ms. Latasha Knox or Ms. Dotson, if they have anything to say.
Hi, my name is Dr. Lagans, everybody. And I've been working in this community in San Bernardino since 2005 within behavioral health services. This is such an exciting opportunity, by the way. We're very excited. But I just want to basically see if anyone has any questions that maybe I can attempt to answer. I have the CDC website open in front of me, and I just want to entertain any questions that you may have. Or concerns even. Some people have a lot of concerns about whether or not this is getting into the genetic material of the cells, and is it going to cause, major problems with infertility. I don't know if anyone has any of those kind of questions.
Okay, so we're opening things up, and while we're waiting for questions to be typed in the chat, I think, Trudy, you had a question. Is that correct?
I did. As I understand it, a lot of vaccinations are produced by using an organic host such as eggs. It's my understanding that this one does not have that the Moderna and the Pfizer do not have additives in the sense that they had to be put through another another organism to be produced. Is that correct?
So as far as there's no similarity to anything in the ingredients that's similar to eggs. So if we have like a allergy to eggs, you're okay on this particular vaccine. The one with the mRNA. I know that I think it's Moderna and Pfizer. Either one of them have the actual egg or anything like eggs in it. It has a polyethylene glycol in it though. So if you have an allergy to that, then they say don't get the vaccine.
Okay.
Then I'm mute for Keith.
Yeah, that is correct. I just want to echo Dr. Lagon's. This is not made from eggs or anything. You are correct with some viruses are. For example, the flu viruses, depending on which one now, maybe or used to be used eggs to produce the vaccine. However, this new technology called mRNA is pretty unique, pretty advanced. Basically, an mRNA is a messenger RNA that creates a message in your cells. So everyone, of course, has DNA in their body, and we use messenger RNA or mRNA to create that DNA. So basically, this technology is using the mRNA as a message to create a piece of the protein of the virus, not the actual virus, but just a piece of the protein. So it fools the body to thinking it's the virus when it's not. So it is definitely a new technology. The advantage of this is that it's more quickly made. You don't have to harvest it in eggs because it's just a message. So it can. That's why the vaccine was readily available pretty quickly in pretty big quantities. They are slowing down now, and you have issues with the East Coast having storms, so it's having a hard time getting to us. But as far as the production is great, because it's a message, there is the ability to change the message so that it can, in the future, be catered to these new variants that you're hearing. So as we change the message, the vaccine may have a booster in the future, which would protect us against these variants.
Oh, wow. That's very interesting. Very interesting. Thank you. It gives me a perspective in terms of how to respond and to be in prayer about what's going on. I have that belief that prayer and science can walk hand in hand, especially in this case here. We have some questions. Reverend Dr. Gary Wines, he's a chiropractor also. He asked a question, and the question is, I have heard that there are different times that the vaccine is considered effective. What are the current thoughts around this?
Okay, so that one, yes, I glanced at that question. I'm trying to see if I see an answer on the CDC website right now because I haven't heard about that. I'm not sure if Dr. Keith can answer or not.
Yeah, Dr. Keith.
So if I can rephrase the question, you're saying that there's different situations where the vaccine is effective, or can you rephrase the question?
And I'm going to ask Dr. Gary, Reverend Dr. Gary Wines to answer that, address that.
I'd be happy to. I've heard in the news that there's different time frames that the vaccine's considered effective, anywhere from 4 months to several years. I just figured that there was probably more information out since I've looked at the CDC website and things like that. So I just wanted to see, are there any current thoughts about that? I mean, I know we want to get the vaccine into people now. That's good because frankly, we need to get get it under control. But the bottom line is, how long are these vaccines considered effective? Are they going to be effective next year?
Sure. So that's a great question. So there's two different answers because there's two different types of vaccines right now. So the first one is the mRNAs, the Pfizer and the Moderna. So it takes about 14 days for you to build an initial response. It's a 2-dose series because the first dose, you're kind of introducing your body to saying, hey, this is COVID virus. The second dose is your body already seen it, and so you're creating a full army to go against this COVID virus. With that being said, 14 days initial, a full 28 days from your second dose, you are 95% effective, protected. As far as how long it lasts, there currently is studies on that. It is very individualized. It depends on the person. Of course, everyone's immune response is different. So if you have certain conditions like a autoimmune disease, you're on immunotherapy, which means that you're taking medicines to suppress your immune system. So of course, these people will have less time period as far as the vaccine being effective. But for most normal people with not any of these conditions, I anticipate it lasts at least 6 months. From the readings I read, I have a old professor that used to work with CDC. I've been in contact with her and discussing all of this. So it's good from 6 months. In theory, this could be an annual type of vaccine. But the concern now is the variants. And so with these variants, there's mutations. And so the original vaccine was made for the original COVID virus, but there are 3 variants. There's variants in California now, there's variants in New York. And with that being said, a variant is a mutation in the virus so that the protein might not look like the same protein that the vaccine was originally made for. And that's why I said with this new mRNA technology, they could just make a new message to give you a booster vaccine in the future. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, wonderful. And Reverend Michael McMillan asked, are there continuing need for volunteers to assist with vaccinations? If so, what's the process and where shall I direct inquiries? Good question.
Okay, I'm sorry. Are there continuing need for volunteers to assist with vaccinations? Is that the question?
Yes.
Oh.
Pregnant women and children are currently in the trial phases now, and we will not have data for easily 90 days to 6 months. But there are also concerns around the various variants, and I believe there are initial trials going on now for the California variant as well as the South African.
Yeah, if I understand the question correctly, of course, this is a huge pandemic, so volunteers is always welcome. So what I would do is contact your local county. They have several clinics, and some clinics are huge, called super sites. So definitely be worth a call to your county or visiting your county to see if they need volunteers. A lot of things volunteers can do is help with paperwork, with intake paperwork, what's called a runner that can assist with providing protective equipment back and forth. And so I think the best place to call would be your local county.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Reverend Michael?
I think that they wanted to, no, I think the question was around becoming a volunteer for the upcoming trials. And I'm not quite sure if you'll go through the state of California, CDPH, or directly to CDC. I'm going to be honest, we have not had any brave souls locally that have asked to become or to participate in a trial. I have had an associate out of New Mexico, and the requirements are pretty stringent for eligibility, but we can get back to you if we can get back to you with an answer regarding signing up to become a volunteer in the upcoming and ongoing trials for the vaccine's efficacy. If you can give us a couple of days, we will get an answer for you for California. If that is, I think that's what the question was. Because if you're volunteering for paperwork, you can come help us. For the actual trial itself, it is a lengthy process and it does take time. There are parameters involved. But we will get back to you with that information, Pastor, and so that you can disseminate it.
Okay. And I think this answered Reverend Michael's question. It seems like he's nodding his head.
Okay.
Yes.
Both answers were helpful. The primary question was about locally volunteering to help with vaccinating people. That was my question, and I think the county is probably the place to start. But I don't know who to direct people to at the county. I would assume public health, but I don't know.
Have the answer.
Yes, it is going to be through the.
Mrs. Sal.
Yes, this is Miriam Salazar. I'm the vaccine scheduling coordinator. It should be through the Department of Public Health. I can pull up some resources of direct links, etc., so that you guys can have a link to give or maybe a contact, and I can forward that along as well.
That would be great. Thank you.
Wonderful. And our next question comes from Rabbi Heil Kohn. And the question is, he says, I am concerned about the fallout from a recent statement by the Catholic Archdiocese of New Orleans that asks Catholics to avoid Johnson & Johnson vaccine because it is morally compromised by its extensive use of the abortion-derived cell lines. What will this do to the efforts to have a greater percentage of African Americans and Latinas take the vaccine?
This is correct. I do think this is definitely a barrier. However, there are some advantages to utilizing this vaccine. But in the religious world, I can see how this is definitely a barrier. The advantage of this vaccine is the storage capability is a lot more easy because it's just refrigerated.
Could I just interrupt for a moment?
Yes.
Because I spent the last 2 hours at a meeting online of the diocesan healthcare committee that I'm a member of. That's the Roman Catholic. And I want to tell you that the bishop of the diocese here and all the people that I spoke to from St. Mary's and St. Bernardine's and do not associate themselves at all with that statement of the Bishop of New Orleans, and do not think that people should refrain from doing it. They may come out with some kind of a even more embrace a better statement, but that will not prevent people from turning to that kind of statement that was made by one bishop of one diocese. Oops, and it's a shame, but that's the name of the game. And Father Manny may have a comment on that, but Bishop Rojas was, very supportive of people taking whatever vaccine is available to them.
How did you know I would have a comment, Rabbi? Yeah.
Did we lose him?
Are you there, Dr. Father Manny?
Yeah, I'm right here. Sorry, I was on mute. I think every diocese has their own, their, whether it's scientists or ethicists, certainly the Vatican does. Right now as it stands, because the internet and because of social media, there's rampant rumors all over the place about even the Moderna, vaccine or the Pfizer vaccine. I haven't heard anything really too much about the Johnson & Johnson vaccine other than what I just heard right now from the Rabbi. So there is certainly whatever vaccine that comes, there's always those concerns, for the Catholic, the moral concern of utilizing compromised lines. For us, it's the consistent ethic of human life from conception to natural death. And so I think our diocese no doubt will come out with a statement, and depending on what Bishop says and whatever those who work with him advise, I'm sure that's what he'll do. But I think already as we speak, like I said, even some of my parishioners have been asking me, like, are you going to take it, or are you going? What do you think about it? Or I'm not going to take it because of these concerns that they might have. But a lot of them, I think, are unfounded, necessary because of internet and because of social media. So it would behoove, I think, any parish community or any religious community to make a statement within the context of their own community. Thanks.
Thank you, Father Manny. Thank you very much for responding, and thank you, Rabbi, for bringing that to our attention. And it's important for us to have these type of conversations because there's information out there. It comes from many different sources, and sometimes that information can be misinterpreted, and it can slow us down in our mission. And this is an important mission that we're on right now. So thank you very much. Is there something you would like to add to this? I want to check with our doctors. Do you want to add anything to this?
So I just was saying that there is different perspectives on this, but the advantage of this vaccine is, like I said, storage. But a huge one for our community is that it's only one dose. So if someone is homeless, if someone has transportation issues, different things like that, the one dose is perfect because we don't rely on them to come back.
Okay.
Effectiveness is nearly not as good with the other two vaccines, but this one has shown a lot of promise, and especially having some type of protection.
Okay, wonderful. And I see a question, and I'm going to ask Reverend Petra to step in because it's her question and her comment. So, Reverend Petra, could you please step in now? And
Yeah, it wasn't, I'm sorry, it's not a question, it was just a comment that I know that, moral and ethical conversations are abundant, but it is important to say that these are not newly aborted fetuses or stem cells that are being used in any way for any of this research. And to me, it's just important to be really clear with people. They understand that these are decades old stem cells that have been involved in lots of different scientific research for decades. But there are no newly aborted fetuses being used in any way for any of this research. And that makes a difference to some people and it doesn't to others. So
Yeah.
I just don't like having the conversation without that piece of information because a lot of people don't know it.
Yeah. I think where the Archdiocese of New Orleans came down on this was that those stem cell lines are used in the production of the vaccine, of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, whereas they were only used in ancillary testing of the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines. And so since it is used in the production, that's where the New Orleans diocese came out in opposition to it. I'm with you here, Petra. Information is good, and if we have the right information, we can help people from wherever they're coming from to get what they need to get vaccinated.
absolutely.
Reverend John has had his hand up several times, and I
Yes.
he may not have heard that we're taking questions in the chat.
Yes.
But
I just sent him a note to type his question in.
Okay.
And Reverend Bill, forgive me, Reverend Bill. Sometimes I just use your first names, especially when I'm first meeting you. He had a question, and he says, "How are we doing locally with regards to outreach to elderly people of color, mobile clinics, San Bernardino County, and other public health entities?" And when I first met him, that was the first thing he had to get out of his mouth. So we really want to make sure we answer that question.
Well, I have not checked the site today to determine San Bernardino or Riverside. It's only been recently that they have begun to share the data regarding ethnicities. It has been predominantly age-related, and
And I'm going to ask Dr. Timothy Lindsay, could you please repeat that, because all of a sudden we had a problem with our sound.
I'm very sorry. Up until just recently, San Bernardino and Riverside was unable to report the breakdown of vaccinations among the various races and/or ethnicities. We do try and get as much information out of the State Department, but it has not been as clear in the Inland Empire. I believe our numbers are still artificially depressed. And it's more around your work or your profession and age. We have been keeping track of those that we have been vaccinating and talking with our community and doing active outreach ourselves. And we are finding that fewer African American and Hispanic families and Asian Americans are being vaccinated, and we are quite concerned. We have been able to tease some of the information out, but it's, again, it is not accurate. And it's only become recently, it's only become required by the government, the feds, that this information be shared. I know we report weekly. Every Tuesday morning, we are required to do so, and they are interested in ethnicity and age. They're not concerned about profession. They are concerned about the physical well-being of those that are being vaccinated, whether they have, pre-existing conditions and the like. And our goal is to vaccinate our entire community regardless, but with a focus on those who are at risk. And my colleagues around the state, we're very concerned about our migrant workers, our farm workers, those who have limited English proficiency, others who are further with additional barriers such as transportation or their living arrangements. We have been evaluating generations, those who have, 3 and 4 and 5 different generations who live in a home, regardless of their profession. But we are getting more information, not willingly, but we are beginning to obtain more data. And I have to say, I'm disappointed and somewhat ashamed that San Bernardino and Riverside has not been more forthcoming over the last few months. Doc, you want to add?
So I think the state is aware of this issue. They are starting to reserve a certain percentage, I think like 40% for the underserved communities. So I think there is statistics showing that the underserved communities are not getting as much opportunity to get vaccinated. So moving forward, let's hope that we can kind of provide more access to this type of communities.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. And that's part of why we're here. Maybe perhaps just our being informed, maybe we may be able to support others. We have a question, and this is from Father Fournier. And his question is, are we vaccinating teachers? Yeah. Are we now vaccinating teachers?
That is a brand new position that's open. It's just been the last 5 to 6 days that both counties have considered teachers a priority. I believe they're 1B, or are they 1C?
1B.
They're 1B, but it's taken the county quite some time just to get through the 1A category. For those of us who work in the FQ environment, we have taken the position, and I must qualify this. We follow the rules mostly, but when it comes to this pandemic and the lack of access in our communities, if you meet some minimum qualifications, teachers, frontline workers, those who are, working in fast food, those who are in, positions where they're in the public, you want a vaccine, you need access, we're going to make sure you have access. What is missing a lot is that teachers, nurses, the rest, most of us have an underlying health condition, whether it be asthma or something more complex. Dr. Lagans can speak to some of those issues. Our goal is to try and get as much of our vaccines into as many of our community, regardless of their profession or the lack thereof. In order for us to get our schools open, we are very concerned about our parents being vaccinated as well as our teachers. Our children, we are planning for them in the fall to be able to get access to the vaccines down to as young as 12. So I am a little surprised that teachers had not been, placed in, the higher level or higher order, but we vaccinate anyone that comes through the door. And I don't know if that's a great answer or not, but that's ours. Doc?
I think the vision of most states is to get back to normalcy.
Yes.
So with that, a lot of children are struggling doing Zoom. A lot of people don't have internet. A lot of people don't have computers.
High-speed capability.
So I think there is a push now to get a lot of teachers vaccinated so we can have slowly reopen schools. Some counties have started opening up the pre-kindergarten, kindergarten, both for kids and also for parents to get back to work and provide for their families. So I think in the future there slowly be more and more teachers and school districts providing or encouraging their teachers to get the vaccine.
Thank you. This is very good information. I want to go back to Reverend Bill's question, and he has a concern about transportation, internet access. We've kind of talked about that. It seems to be a big barrier. Finally, he says, being prepared for the coming weeks and months as supply may be constant. So may be a constraint. So my question to you is, what are some things that we need to know, or how can we support that? We want to know what is available so that when we are approached about this subject, we can make sure we funnel the proper information to our team.
Dr. Fujinami?
That's
Yes.
constraints.
And you know what, I would like to add an answer to that actually, because we were talking about the minority population, especially as you get a little, lack of access or things in your language. And I've noticed personally that a lot of, if they don't have proper access to correct information, a lot of people are scared of the vaccine. And for example, I know that my mother is a devout Catholic, and she's in a lot of groups, for prayer groups. And right now, a lot of them are sharing misinformation, and all of her friends that are in their 50s and 60s are refusing to get vaccinated. So I think it would be very helpful if we can share the message of like, no, let's look at science. Let's look at what the CDC is saying. And if we can find information in the language, see what your community is talking about. Because here in the health center, I've noticed that when they come to us, they're ready for the vaccine. They don't have any questions. They just want to know if it hurts when you get the shot, but they've already made up their minds. But I've noticed it's those questions that aren't being brought up to the healthcare providers that they might bring up to you because they trust in you in that way. That might be very conductive in getting them to lose their fear or any misconceptions they might have about the vaccine.
Right. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Did you have what you want to add?
Doc, you want to add something?
So in regards to some barriers, I know there's a lot of barriers with transportation and whatnot. I think that is why the federal government started opening it up. As a pharmacist, most of my friends are being asked to go into the community. A lot of pharmacies have access to vaccines for COVID. So they're trying to distribute it. A lot of people go to pharmacies, may not necessarily have the opportunity to get to their provider's office. So all pharmacies are vaccinating for COVID. So this kind of opens it up. There are mobile clinics opening up. There are many drive-through clinics opening up. But with transportation, I think moving forward, we're going to have to reach some communities with a mobile clinic or utilizing churches, whatnot, to provide this for the community.
Reverend Harvey, one of the concerns that I have about drive-up facilities is that based on our workflow, it's extremely important that as people come into the facility to receive their vaccine, that we can talk with them, that we can see the initial apprehension or in some instances, absolute fear. We have a clinical team available to answer, the medical questions. And then we have a mental health team that actually answers or addresses their unspoken fear and anxiety, because that can create an atmosphere ripe for fainting or, anxiety when the shot is actually administered, believe it or not. So with the drive-up clinics and those that do not afford a medical intervention or an observation team concerns us because not everyone should just get a vaccine and walk out the door. In fact, no one should. We review and observe you, talk with you, walk around, 15, 20 minutes, and in some instances as long as 30 minutes. And there is an actively engaged interactive team, mental health, medical, as well as pharmacy. And we have tools available when you begin to either hyperventilate because you're so fearful. And I must admit, the most fearful have been the men, not the ladies. Sorry, gentlemen, but that is what's missing in these large scale rollouts. These are people we're talking about, human beings like myself and others. And we have found the experience is a lot, it's more tolerated when a person walks in who is apprehensive, that has a chance to talk about their concerns and fears, and then sees a group that are trained professionals who devote their time and attention to them. We can't just say, get in your car, drive somewhere, or go stand in a line. We really do need to treat each other with this compassion and humanity that has been missing during this pandemic. And I have to admit, this team is a wonderful team. Not only do they give great shots, they have the time and energy and the wherewithal and the will to work with you one-on-one for as long as it's needed. So yes, we want to get out there, and we are out there, but we have to make sure that if we go, we have to bring the entire family. We have to be prepared to deal with that one person who sits and steps to the back, afraid. We have to be able to go get him, bring him back out front, and answer his questions, and then walk with him through the end of it. We do a lot of check-ins with our older members, a quick call to their home a few days later to see how they're doing. These are the things that are definitely missing in these large-scale vaccine rollout programs. That intimate engagement with the medical team, the mental health team, and the pharmaceutical team, and the nursing team. So, so sorry if I overstepped.
That's okay. That is okay. And that's an important component. I know that within my community, there have been people, we talk about having access. I'm talking about seniors. Many of them may not have had access to computers and may have needed a little extra help. And that does make a difference. It's not just a matter of having the vaccine available, but it is also it's important for them to, we have to have systems in place where we can support them in getting those vaccines, whether it's coming to their home, if, for example, with the Johnson & Johnson, or whether it is just walking them through even paperwork and everything. So we do appreciate that sharing and the personal part of it. I think that it is important for us to talk about side effects and for us to understand those side effects because people will have that. And I'm going to ask one more question after that. And that next question will be, what about those people who have had the coronavirus and their qualifications? That's the important question also.
Pastor?
Okay, so as far as side effects, after you get the vaccine, the first dose, we've noticed a lot of people have just arm soreness, local site irritation, so it could be red. There's lymph nodes under your arms. A lot of people complain about being swollen. And some people may have low-grade fever or chills, but that's usually seen in the second dose. These are all type of side effects that show that your body is creating an immune response. So by getting something like that, it may not feel well, but be comforted that your body is building protection against the virus.
Yes.
In addition, there is a small percentage of people that may have a more severe type of side effect or reaction known as anaphylaxis. And this can range from swelling of the lips to not breathing, having difficulty breathing. Which is why you have to wait 15 to 30 minutes after you get the vaccine for observation. We have people at our clinic standby, like Dr. Lagans and her team. We do have medications ready, so normally you have to have an EpiPen. And these types of anaphylaxis reactions are reversible and taken care of. And if you do happen to have it, it is less than 1% or so. But that would disqualify you from having any second doses.
That's true.
Okay. So that's a good question. And the fact with the lymph nodes, now I heard something, and this is regarding women and mammograms. Can you address that issue also regarding their mammograms and the COVID vaccine?
So sure, like I said, one of the immune responses is your lymph nodes do get swollen. So with mammograms, they can be mistaken for having breast cancer or lumps. I know my wife developed a pretty big lump under her arm, and we had to actually consult a provider. And there is a online adverse reaction website called VAERS. So we did contacted saying that this is a normal side effect of the vaccine because part of the lymph node and the lymph system is to provide protection for your body against the virus. So if you do have a mammogram and you did get a COVID vaccine, it's important to tell the person that you did get the vaccine so they don't mistake it for breast cancer.
Correct.
So if you've had the vaccine, and I'm going to stay with this for just a little while, a little bit longer. If you've had the vaccine in recently, and your mammogram is coming up, what would be the appropriate action? Should you wait a bit to go and get the mammogram to allow for things to stabilize with the vaccine?
Great. Is Dr. Lagans? Dr. Lagans, are you still on the phone? I'm sorry.
I am here. And I heard the question. Let's say yes, that would be a good idea because usually it's a temporary situation, a temporary response to the vaccine, but it may take some time. It may take a month or two. But as long as there's no urgent need to get the mammogram, in other words, if it's just a screening mammogram, it's okay to wait a couple of months and it would be advantageous to do so.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. This is very, very helpful for us. The next question I have for you is regarding those that have had COVID, they've experienced COVID, and what would you advise regarding them and the vaccine?
So basically, even if you have COVID, it is recommended you get the vaccine. Like I said, the initial response of your body does provide antibody protection, but an actual vaccine provides an exaggerated reaction and immune response. So it's kind of like having 10 people in your army after getting exposed to COVID vaccine to having 1,000 people in your army ready to protect yourself for next time. So it's definitely advised. With that being said, if you do have COVID infection, we do screen. You have to be negative and cleared for COVID for at least 10 to 14 days. If you are cleared negative for that, then you're eligible to get the vaccine.
Okay. Wonderful, wonderful. I so appreciate, I'm speaking on behalf of the clergy. Yes.
We have one statement that needs to be added to that, because there are a number of people who may.
Can you repeat that again? All of a sudden you dropped, and I know it's an important piece of information.
Yes, thank you, Reverend. There are a number of people that have developed the virus, and it has held on for a length of time, and they have sought and received certain treatments. There's another side to that. Dr. Keith would like to address that. There's the possibility that there may be an adjustment to when you can become eligible for the vaccine. Doc?
Yeah, that's correct. So there's different stages of the virus. Some people just have a mild type reaction with body aches, fever, but there's more people that have difficulty breathing, and some all the way to requiring intubation and being hospitalized. People just before hospitalization, they are qualified to another therapy called monoclonal antibodies, and basically it's just a specific antibody targeted against the virus. It's a therapy that they infuse in your body. With this therapy, if you had COVID and had this therapy, you have to wait at least 3 months before you can get the vaccine. So that's one difference, is the severity of the disease. If you did receive the immune response, the immune antibody, monoclonal antibody for treatment, then you do have to wait 3 months before you get the vaccine.
Excellent. Wonderful. I am so grateful, and I'm speaking on behalf of the clergy right now. This has been very, very helpful for us. And I think we have a person that says, does this county have any help for those suffering from long COVID?
That would be your vaccine. That would be your treatment option, Doc.
Yeah. So with the long COVID, there's still a lot of studies, because it does affect a lot of organs. People have complained of not having sense of taste or smell for many, many months. That's still in the studies, honestly. I cannot really answer that, but I can say that the people who do still have COVID, active infection, they do have immunotherapy, they do have antivirals that do help. The most promising now is the monoclonal antibodies for people who are not hospitalized. We do have several people here at our center that have been infected and were given the monoclonal antibodies and said it works great. They recovered so quickly, and it basically gives your body an opportunity to fight off the virus so that the virus doesn't replicate or produce itself too quickly.
Okay, wonderful. Wonderful. So my final question, if we are, as we draw to a close, is how can, if we encounter someone who needs support, who desires to receive the vaccine, who should we contact? Is there a way for you to provide us that information? And is it possible that you can drop it in our chat?
Bobby, it's become a little more complicated than what we are happy with. In fact, we're going to be on a Zoom call with the new administrator of the vaccine distribution for the state of California in a few minutes, and that is Blue Shield. Mr. Paul Brown. But Miriam can tell you right now how we as a health center are going about including and registering people. And it may all change in the next hour once we're through with the new, what do they call them?
Third party administrator.
They're the third party administrator for the state of California for the receipt and distribution of all vaccines. I don't think that California has been received very high marks for their handling of the distribution of the vaccine program. As it stands, we still we're right around 38, 39. We may even be at 37 on the list out of 50 states in terms of vaccinating our residents. So we remain low on the list out of 50 states. I must say, hats off to North and South Dakota and New Mexico. They tend to stay in the top 5. They're battling it out for number 1, and they have been number 1 since the rollout of the vaccine. So with California receiving the absolute largest allocation of Moderna and Pfizer, we should not be in the 30s. We should be closer to the 20s or above. So Miriam, you have a few minutes before taking on.
I am putting in the chat 2 ways to contact us. The first one is our preferred method, which is our COVID-19 vaccines at ibhealth.org email. The second one is the our phone number for our main facility here located on D Street in San Bernardino. If there's anyone that would like to get vaccinated and meet the qualifications as stated by the county and the state, which means that they're essential workers, including medical education and frontline workers, or if they're over the age of 65, they can contact us and they can let us know. If you know anyone that is younger than 65 but has underlying conditions, they can let us know as well. Because as Dr. Lindsay let you guys know, we're trying to vaccinate as many people as we can, and especially those that are in need. We don't vaccinate every day. As some of you may have heard, we have clinics that are dedicated so that we can have the whole interdisciplinary team there. So we will try to, we prioritize based on those categories, and we try to bring in as many people as possible based on the doses we did receive from the county. But anyone that contacts us will be placed on the list, and as we work our way down that list based on those categories, we will let them know when we're available. But again, this is our current process. We don't know when this process might be forced to change.
Okay. Well, we appreciate this information, and we would appreciate updates. If you have some updates, we would appreciate that. And maybe perhaps we will have you back again at a later date to give us an update regarding this. It looks like this is going to be something we will continue to work with. It feels like we're moving upward, and we do appreciate it. With that in mind, I want to thank everyone that has been here. And I want to call your attention for also to our Facebook page. And you will probably have noticed that I have already posted my first shot. And tomorrow, the exciting news is I get to go and get that final shot. And I'm so excited. I get an opportunity and I can go. I have a young man that has grown up under me. I've watched him grow, and now he's ready to get married. And his goal is to be married this month, March. And he asked me if I would do the wedding. And I was a little apprehensive because I had not gotten my shot. But things are good. I get an opportunity to be safe and to go and do my work in the world. So I'm so grateful for that. I would like to pose a challenge. And that challenge is to all of my colleagues. And that challenge is when you get your shot, I think that we as leaders, my mentor, I had a conversation with her. She's going to be 85 years old. And in our conversation, she says, I feel that it is our duty to get the shot. She also said that we can be a tipping point in the world. So I'm going to challenge and invite all of my colleagues, if you have, and if you have it within you, to take a picture of your getting your shot or post. And I'm going to invite you to go to our clergy page so that we have that information there. So when people pass that page, and if they have a question, most of the time I always see people in the middle of the night on the internet checking things. Maybe this might be a tipping point and make a difference in their lives. I thank you all for being here. We look forward to seeing you guys next month. Trudy will be sending out information who our next guest speaker is, but this was really good. And we so appreciate you, Dr. Lindsay, and your entire team. Let's give them all applause.